A weirdly common problem in Final Fantasy XIV, possibly especially because of the age of the game combined with the amount of changes the game has got over the years, is that some players will claim that something is true without ever checking if it actually is. Either because they assumed it is the way they think, or because it was like that at some point. Welcome to Final Fantasy XIV Mythbusters, where I and my friends highlight the odd claims and misconceptions players make, and test them to see whether they are true or not, while also explaining how you can test it yourself so you can learn how to science stuff in Final Fantasy XIV. Number 1. With the right timing, Pepsis can be used to heal with a shield that has already expired. True. The idea here is that when an attack snapshots to deal damage, it has sort of already calculated the damage you will take with the barrier in mind. Meaning that the presence of the barrier at this point in the calculation is actually no longer relevant. If Pepsis is used in this very specific window, then Pepsis will still consider the barrier present as long as the damage has not yet arrived to break it. To test this, you of course will need a Sage. Walk up to an enemy. I recommend using Yivcration Prognosis for this, as a regular open world mob may not actually be able to break Yivcration Diagnosis in time. Once you're certain the next swing will break the barrier, when you see them wind up to strike, that is the sign that the attack has already snapshotted, although some attacks snapshot this damage at slightly different moments than others. But once the snapshot is in order, you can use Pepsis. Notice that the Pepsis heal occurs, and simultaneously the damage of the hit is reduced by the barrier. Of course, this trick also means no adder sting. Knowing the timing of attacks can make this useful occasionally to deal with massive AoE damage, alongside other tools of course. Number 2. Nascent Glint actually only heals the target 3 times, not 4. Depends on the action. When done properly, Nascent Flash and Bloodwetting will always heal the warrior from 4 weapon skill uses. However, if you pay close attention, a lot of the time, the target of Nascent Glint's healing often only heals for 3. The reason for this interaction is that Bloodwetting and Nascent Flash on the warrior are activated when the warrior initiates a weapon skill. Meaning that even if Bloodwetting or Nascent Flash runs out during the animation, the warrior will still get the full benefit of the healing. However, Nascent Glint copies the healing that is applied by Nascent Flash wholesale, and only does so when the healing appears, which means that the exact frame Nascent Glint disappears, the possibility of being healed by Nascent Glint also disappears. The reason that this can result in Nascent Glint only healing for 3 weapon skills worth is that a lot of warrior weapon skills don't do damage until like the second half of the GCD, which often means that Nascent Glint is already gone by then. This also means that if an AoE attack like Overpower is used, it is possible for Nascent Glint to copy some of the heals and then stop in the middle due to running out. An example of how this problem of it only healing for 3 weapon skills due to long animations can be observed if the 4th GCD is Storm's Path, Storm's Eye, or Decimate, as a few examples. For my demonstration here, I used Heavy Swing 4 times to heal my companion 4 times, and used a more likely sequence to demonstrate only healing 3 times. Number 3. Some gauge elements and mechanics have infinite duration despite feeling like they really shouldn't. This is more a discussion topic and something I think can also be interesting to highlight just in time for Dawntrail, because this is something that might either change or might be claimed to have changed because it may not be well documented. With that said, since the beginning of Endwalker, Red Mage's enchanted weapon skills, except Reprise, generate so-called mana stacks. These stacks don't ever expire, so you could hypothetically finish a pack in a dungeon with a melee combo, and then carry it over to the boss and open with it. Even if the group goes for a 10-minute break, you will still have the magic part of the combo ready. Another detail to this is that the mana stack is granted even if the combo is done out of order, leading to the possibility that you could use Zwerchau 3 times back to back for a slightly faster combo that is slightly cheaper, although it does way less damage, so I don't recommend it. Similarly, Dark Knight's Dark Arts, which is the resource you generate when TBN is properly broken, lasts forever. Another example is Black Mage's Polyglots, which stick around even if you drop state, and Summoner's Lego bricks that stay as long as you need them, not to mention the favors that Ifrit, Titan and Garuda grant also stick around forever, or until you summon something else. Finally, both Dragoon's Dragon Gauge and First Mind's Focus gauges also stick around forever. In fairness, some of these effects make perfect sense to stick around forever, like the Dragon Gauge or the Polyglots or even Dark Arts. But it can get quite confusing when put next to other things that don't have infinite duration, which incidentally is the next topic. Number 4. Some gauge elements and mechanics do not have infinite duration, despite feeling like they might as well. For a very particular example that directly relates to the previous subject, Summoner's attunements only last 30 seconds, despite the favors lasting forever. This is usually not actually important, because you wouldn't want to sit on attunements for 30 seconds anyway, which almost always makes this detail completely irrelevant. Yet, it is still a peculiar detail. A similar case happens with things like Warrior's Infuriate, which gives Nascent Chaos for 30 seconds, which is, again, such a long time that it pretty much never comes up. It could be significant if Infuriate was usable outside of combat and in fights with really long downtime. It can also be relevant since that would mean you wouldn't want to use Infuriate during said downtime if it means you lose the Nascent Chaos, perhaps. There are a bunch of other jobs with similar quote-unquote issues like Divine Might and Atonement on Paladin, but most of these other examples kinda make more sense to have a timer, even if it rarely ever comes up. The weirdest one, at least to me, is Monk's Perfect Balance, which itself lasts 20 seconds, that makes sense, and then, when the third attack is used during it, gives you 20 new seconds to use the Masterful Blitz. On the one hand, it makes sense for it to give you about 20 seconds to use it because of how it is like a combo finisher, and waiting too long with a combo finisher feels a little weird. But then again, all actual combos have a 30-second timer, not 20 seconds. It's just strange that Masterful Blitz has a 20-second timer when mana stacks for Red Mage are infinite. Remember, take note of these in case they change come Dawntrail, right? Number 5. Can dancers apply their partner buffs through walls? No. The particular question relates to how, if a dancer dies and runs back to the boss arena and then uses standard finish, would the buff still be applied to the partner still in the boss arena? In the same vein, would Curing Vaults or Devilment reach through? As you heard, the answer's no. But how do we test this? You will need one dancer and one other player that is capable of surviving for as long as needed, so probably a tank. Enter a dungeon where the gate to re-enter the boss fight is at least near the boss itself, so the problem isn't being too far away. Partner up with the other player, then engage the boss, and let the dancer die. The boss needs to be able to kill the dancer. Then, have the dancer run back to the arena, and then once within reach, use standard step, do the steps, and finish. The buff will apply to the dancer, but not the partner. You can also try Devilment, even Technical Step, although that one is not related to the partner, and then also Curing Vaults. They will not work. This is probably due to a line of sight requirement, and these walls are considered quite solid. Unfortunately, this means no sideline support shenanigans from dancers. Number 6. Do speed buffs stack? Also no. Speed buffs are incredibly poorly explained in Final Fantasy XIV, with most buffs not even clearly defining how much they boost your speed by. However, it is also never clearly stated that speed buffs don't stack. The way speed buffs actually work, uniquely, is that the strongest speed bonus you have will be the one that takes effect. For the most commonly seen speed bonuses in PvE content, ranked from strongest to weakest, we have Sprint, Expedient, and Blue Mage's Basic Instincts at 30%, with Basic Instincts uniquely actually saying 30%, Peloton and Six-Sided Star at 20%, and Ninja's passive bonus at 10%. To demonstrate that these effects do not stack, you might need 2 friends due to how the latency difference between you and a friend would make the results always seem weirdly in your favor. Find a long hallway and try to make sure everyone is aligned to run in a straight line. Make a countdown and make sure whatever two things you want to compare are set up and the players run on the pole. For my demonstration here, we will be comparing a ninja, 10% boost, with Peloton active, 20% boost, against a black mage, nothing, with sprint, 30% boost. The black mage will manually remove Peloton. If speed buffs stack additively, then a ninja with Peloton will be equal to a sprinting black mage. If speed buffs stack multiplicatively, then a ninja with Peloton will be faster than a sprinting black mage. If speed buffs do not stack, then a ninja with Peloton will be slower than a sprinting black mage. So here's the demonstration. Now, the initial positional difference between the two players is not important. One started running a fraction of a second sooner. The important part is that you can see the gap between them widening, which suggests that the black mage is actually faster. You are welcome to test all the other combinations in your own time, but what this means is that sprinting makes any speed bonus lesser than sprint irrelevant. Similarly, Peloton causes ninjas to keep up with everyone else rather than run ahead of everyone else still. An additional little detail to this is that in things like Leap of Faith in the Gold Saucer, all actions are disabled aside from sprint, so you can't use options like Peloton. However, it is often argued, also by me, that going in as a ninja might make you go faster because of the passive speed bonus. This is also incorrect, and ninja is just as fast as everyone else in Leap of Faith. I would like to thank Angel and Kitsu for helping with some of the tests in this video. With that said, with Dawntrail coming out tomorrow, it will probably be a while before I will have a substantial amount of interesting myths to cover again. You might be looking at this one in particular and thinking, wow, we're really scraping the barrel with this one, huh? And you might be right, which is probably not that bad when we are finishing this series, at least for now. I hope you enjoyed this series of myth-busting in Final Fantasy XIV, and if you haven't seen them yet, remember that there is a whole 14 more episodes before this one, compiled in this playlist I put together for you, covering a whole slew of subjects. I hope you enjoy, and see you all in Dawntrail. Now, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to support me and my channel more directly, you can become a member like these wonderful people here. You can also alternatively support me through Ko-Fi, link in the description. You can also support the channel by letting the YouTube algorithm know by liking the video, leaving a comment, subscribing, sharing, and hitting the bell to get notified when next I post a video. Fun fact, most speed bonuses are always vague about how fast you go. In PvE, it is usually a bonus of either 10, 20, or 30%. That of course does not stack. In PvP, however, it turns out that speed bonuses are a lot more openly shared, with Expedient, Elusive Jump, and Hooton providing a plainly stated 25% and Sprint granting 50%.